Peacemaker Season 2 is finally here, and Episode 1 has already dropped a shocking twist that sets the tone for the rest of the season. The premiere wasted no time in reminding us that James Gunn's wild DC series is not afraid to mix brutal action, emotional depth, and bizarre comic book concepts into one chaotic ride. But the biggest question fans are asking right now is, what does that major death at the end really mean? Today we're breaking down the Episode 1 ending, the alternate Peacemaker's fate, and how this all connects to Superman, Lex Luthor, and the wider DCU. Let's start with the headline moment. Peacemaker kills. Peacemaker. That's right, the very first episode ends with John Cena's Christopher Smith accidentally impaling and killing an alternate version of himself. But don't worry, the Peacemaker we've been following since Season 1 is still alive. The one who dies is his variant, a counterpart from another dimension accessed through the mysterious quantum unfolding chamber. This device, inherited from his father, opens doors to as many as 99 different realities, each with its own unique versions of familiar characters. At first, Peacemaker's visit to this other world seems harmless. He stumbles upon a stash of alternate helmets while looking for Eagly, and it becomes clear that this dimension is radically different from his own. His father, Augie, who in Season 1 was a violent racist supervillain, is alive here. But not only alive, he's actually a decent person. His brother Keith, who tragically died in Peacemaker's original timeline, is also alive in this dimension. These discoveries shake Christopher deeply, as he's confronted with the painful truth that in another reality, his family could have been whole and supportive. But it doesn't take long before things spiral out of control. When our Peacemaker finally meets his alternate self, the encounter turns violent. This variant doesn't believe he's looking at another version of himself. Instead, he assumes it's some kind of imposter or shapeshifter. What follows is an intense chase through the quantum chamber, with magic stars flying, blades clashing, and John Cena literally fighting himself. The battle ends with a gruesome accident. Peacemaker triggers his variant's jetpack, sending him crashing into a sharp object on the ceiling. The alternate Peacemaker is impaled, and just like that, one version of Christopher Smith is gone for good. Now, why is this so important? Because killing another version of yourself doesn't just create emotional baggage. It opens the door to interdimensional chaos. No one else in the main timeline knows what happened, and if these other dimensions start bleeding into the main DC universe, Peacemaker could be blamed for setting off a multiverse-level disaster. The premiere also takes time to expand the mythology of this alternate world. Peacemaker discovers that his other self was part of a superhero team called the Top Trio, a group we know almost nothing about yet, but one that could play a huge role later in the season. He also learns that in this dimension, Emilia Harcourt, his close ally and complicated love interest, actually dated his variant. Now, she's moved on to someone Keith calls a jarhead, possibly hinting at a military connection. These subtle differences highlight just how unpredictable and diverse the multiverse can be. But Episode 1 doesn't stop there. It also weaves in a major connection to James Gunn's Superman. We hear about something called the Luthor Incident, a catastrophic event in which Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, tore a rift through Metropolis by pushing his pocket universe portal beyond its limits. Superman only barely managed to stop the disaster with the help of Mr. Terrific. Why does this matter for Peacemaker? Because every time Christopher uses the quantum chamber, it creates the same kind of energy signature as Luthor's portal. That means Argus is watching Peacemaker's every move. Rick Flag Sr., played by Frank Grillo, has declared Peacemaker Priority 1. This is deeply personal because remember, Peacemaker killed Rick Flag Jr. in the Suicide Squad. Argus is waiting for him to make one wrong move so they can take him down, and the accidental killing of his variant may become the excuse they need. This surveillance and tension with Argus is clearly going to be a driving force throughout Season 2. And then there's the Justice Gang. In a clever retcon, the series establishes that the heroes who showed up at the end of Season 1 weren't the old DCEU Justice League, but the new DCU's Justice Gang, featuring David Corenswet's Superman and Millie Alcock's Supergirl. At the start of Episode 2, Peacemaker even tries to join them, believing that after saving the world he deserves recognition as a true superhero. But the team rejects him, highlighting once again the tragic irony of his character. Peacemaker desperately wants to be seen as a legitimate hero, yet his violent, chaotic nature keeps pushing him further from acceptance. So what does all of this mean moving forward? First, the death of the alternate Peacemaker sets the stage for an interdimensional fallout. His family and teammates in that other world may come looking for answers, and Christopher could be forced to confront the consequences of killing someone who was, essentially, himself. Second, Argus's constant monitoring means he's under more pressure than ever, with Rick Flag Sr. looming like a vulture waiting for him to fail. Third, the Justice Gang's rejection will likely fuel Peacemaker's inner conflict as he struggles between wanting legitimacy and continuing his bloody, reckless methods. In short, Episode 1 delivers everything fans love about this show: dark comedy, brutal action, emotional weight, and bizarre DC deep cuts. But more importantly, it raises the stakes by tying Peacemaker's personal story into the wider DCU. The Luthor Incident, the Justice Gang, and the Quantum Chamber aren't just plot devices. They're threads connecting this series directly to the foundation James Gunn is building for the entire franchise. If Episode 1 is any indication, Season 2 is going to be bigger, darker, and way more connected than anything we saw in Season 1. And if killing one alternate version of himself already caused this much trouble, imagine what happens if more Peacemaker variants start crossing over into the main timeline. The multiverse might just have a new wildcard, and his name is Christopher Smith.